everybody. Sorry we are late. I am having technical issues, which is the norm lately, unfortunately. I am joined by a special co-host tonight. Julian is out on the road for the 127 sale for 2 weeks. So Katey is going to be my co-host tonight, so I'm super excited about that. And next week, Tay is going to be my co-host because Julian's going to be gone for 2 weeks for 127. So I split them up. And I'm monopolizing them for 2 weeks. So I'm going to let Mike and Joe introduce themselves. They have been on the show before. And I'll let them introduce themselves and Katey, since she's the special co-host here. Richard is dropping links to everybody's channel, so definitely check everybody out if you're not subscribed. So here is Joe.
Hello, everyone. My name's Joe. I go by the name Philly Picker on YouTube and on Instagram. I'm a part-time reseller in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I mostly sell everything, all my items on eBay.
Perfect.
And Kat, thank you for having us back on. I appreciate it.
I'm happy to have you. Yeah, third time's a charm. Here's Mike.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mike. I am the January House. I have two YouTube channels, the January House and the January Auction House, where I do auctions every Sunday night live at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern. I'm a full-time reseller here in central Pennsylvania, right outside of Harrisburg. And I sell a little bit of everything. And I wanted to say hi to everyone. Hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. And thanks to Kat and Katey for having me on again tonight.
Perfect. Here's Katey.
I was dragged into it, Mike. Hi, everybody. My name's Katey with Katey Reads. I have a YouTube channel, Instagram, TikTok, all the fun things. I resell used books and ephemera and media. And I also create bookmarks on Etsy and other handmade book crafts. And yeah, this is my second time on Kat's show. So I am honored to be a co-host and be a temporary Julian.
And I did not fire him. Everybody's like, I did not. And I think Julian's going to be out in October because he's going fishing too. So Julian will be MIA for a little bit. I've taken one Tuesday off in 3 years. I do not take Tuesdays off. I come on no matter where I'm at. I was almost dying the one time that I took off Tuesday. So if I'm not here, something's probably seriously wrong. So Jeremy came in and beat Duncan with the first question tonight. He wants to know, how did you get started in reselling?
I guess I'll go first. I'm in the hot seat, right? This is the hot seat area?
You are. You're totally in the hot seat.
I started reselling sneakers. That's what got me in there. I used to be the kid that used to stand at the mall on Saturday mornings and wait for like the latest sneaker release to come out. And I wasn't selling online. I would just take them to a consignment shop that was in Philadelphia. A few years of doing that, the consignment shop closed. They called everybody down and said that they're closing their business down. Come pick up your inventory that you had there. I had a few extra pairs of shoes there, and I ran into a guy that was also picking up his inventory who said that he was going to start selling online. And so that's basically how I started. I started a little bit on Craigslist, and then I went into eBay, and that's what I started selling. And then I started figuring out that I can sell a little bit more than just sneakers on eBay. So that's what I just started venturing out into selling everything.
Oh, all right. You want me to go?
Yeah.
Okay. So I started actually like when I was a teenager. I was growing up. What is it? The 90s when sports card boom was happening. You know, in the mid 90s, and comic books. My dad and I would resell cards and comic books at like those mall shows that they had. Like baseball card shows at the mall and hotels and stuff. So I actually started back then. And then I had an eBay, account, not a store, but I had an eBay account for years, and I would sell things around the house that, I didn't use anymore or whatever. If I got something and I couldn't use it, I would sell it. But I wasn't like a reseller on eBay. And then one day I was watching the news, and I saw this like news segment on this kid that was like, it was the headline was, this kid makes, like 6 figures selling stuff from Walmart on the internet. And I was like, what is this about? And it was retail arbitrage, but I didn't know what retail arbitrage was. So the kid was buying like clearance stuff and flipping it on eBay and stuff like that. And I actually looked up like the news thing on YouTube so I could watch it like again and again. I couldn't believe people were actually doing it. You know what I mean? I was like, I would just sell like, I don't know, if I didn't have a use for this mug anymore, I would sell it. But I didn't know people were like buying stuff and reselling it like from yard sales. And that got me into YouTube and all, watching all the different resellers and then going to yard sales, going to the bins. I didn't know what the Goodwill bins were. I have one like 5 minutes away from my house, and I started in clothes and all that stuff. So yeah, that's kind of how I started it. When I was young, I did it. And then I saw that news article and I got hooked ever since then. And that was, like probably 7 years now. That's how I got started.
Awesome. So I've been on eBay for like over 10 years, but it's always just been like the casual, like sporadic things I wanted to get rid of around the house, that kind of thing, because my dad used to do wholesale perfumes. And so I, in high school, helped him a lot when he was selling on eBay. So I always knew what eBay was and I always kind of dabbled with it. But in 2019, I was given like 5 huge totes full of books from a friend who was moving from Michigan to Arizona. And I thought, well, I wonder if because I could take them to a bookstore and maybe get like $20 for them all, or I could try and sell them. So I started looking some of them up, and a lot of them were 60s, like spiritual books that were no longer in print and like just really sought after, unique books. And so, I sold my first one. I got a taste of it, and I just dove really hard into it after that. And I've been flipping books. I flip other things too. I mean, I'll flip anything to make a profit. Definitely getting into more vintage now. I'm kind of following Kat's footsteps a little bit and learning from her, just to diversify my store now that I'm doing this full time. But yeah, I love it, and that's kind of what got me started with books. I liked reading anyways. I liked books anyways, so I could take that niche. And then now that I've kind of mastered that craft, I'm dabbling into other things.
So for me, I grew up with an older brother who he's over 20 years older than me, and he was a big flea market buff. So he would buy like old storage units. He would buy U-Haul trailers like full of stuff. He would flip it at the flea market. He was kind of a junker. That was before there was eBay. And then, so I grew up in kind of that environment around my brother. And then when my older son was born in 99, I was staying home with him, and there was a plant nursery next door, and he did little tiny starts of plants. And I don't know what made me look it up, but I looked on eBay and I found out I could sell those plants on eBay. I was buying them for $0.25. I don't know if I went out. I saw everybody refresh. So I was buying little plants for $0.25, selling them for $9.99 on eBay. That was my first kind of experience with eBay in 99. And then I stopped for a while, and then I actually ran a plant nursery, a multi-million-dollar plant nursery here in Gainesville, and we would buy little starts. And I looked on eBay, and stuff we were paying 50 cents for was selling for $10, because we have a lot in Florida that people can't get in other places. So I started buying my own flats of starter plants, selling them on eBay. I actually ended up getting fired for doing that. Because they said it was a conflict of interest, even though like nobody was really selling online then. And I opened my own plant nursery. So that was my own actual business. And we actually sold to the public, and I sold online. And I think the first year I did that, I sold like $40,000 back in the early 2000s, just selling plants. So fast forward, I didn't do it for 10, 15 years. And I had Dalton. We started doing pallets, and then I got into everything you see now. I got tired of pallets because I ended up with so much trash and stuff I couldn't use. And I started doing thrift stores, and then I found online auctions where I can really pick exactly what I wanted. And that's how I am where I am now. And mine has obviously turned into full-time as well. I know Katey just did too. And I think it's great to be able to be home with kids and be with your family more. It's definitely a good option. All right, I'm taking turns between Jeremy and Duncan right now. Duncan wants to know, how do you determine what promoted listing rate to use, or do you think people should use it?
I do promote. I use promoted listing. I promote a little bit higher than I think a lot of people do it. I go whatever the suggested rate is, a little bit above that. So I am promoting. I've seen a big, tick. I've sold a lot more by using promoted listings. And I know that you are paying, that extra fee. But I think if you get the right items and you're buying them at the right price, that little bit of extra fee is okay. If I'm selling, $2,000 extra of stuff, I don't mind paying, eBay an extra $200. You know what I mean? That's how I figure, and it's been working for me.
Yeah, me too. I used to run a lot of sales. Like I would mix it up. I'd run, 10% sale for like a week or whatever, 10 days, whatever. And then I'd run, 15% or 12%, then back to 10. I'd switch it all up. And then I started doing the promoted listings at above, instead of the sales, instead of the markdown sales, above the suggested rate as well, and not running a sale at all. And I found that this using those promoted listings with a higher promoted rate than what they suggest just ended up being better for me. I would sell more items. So I haven't ran a sale, just a regular sale, like 10% or whatever, in like probably 8 months, this whole year probably, since I've done that. And I still change it up. Like I'll run it for 3 or 4 days, and then I'll change the percentage over whatever the promoted suggested promoted rate is, and it seems to work well for me.
Yeah, 80% of 80 to 85% of my stores books. So average sell-through rate for that is 60 to 90 days, especially because I sell a lot of vintage. So for me, I do promoted listings, and depending how saturated, I not only look at the sold comps, but I also look at the listings as well when I'm getting something listed, just to see how saturated it is, because then that defines what I'm going to do as far as promoted listings. And with quite a few books that I list, I don't really need to do promoted listings because there's only 1 or 2 other sellers out there. Now, after 30 days, I usually kind of review those listings because it makes me a little nervous not having any promoted listing on there at all. But yeah, and maybe I'm making a little extra work for myself, but overall, yeah, I would agree with Joe. I do a little bit over, especially if it's a really saturated book, like everybody and their brother is selling it, but it's selling often as well, so it makes it worth listing. So and my trick with that also is I do charge for shipping as well, and then I inflate the price a little bit. So for me, it's just worked really well. It's a method that Tay kind of turned me on to, and I've just used it ever since, and it works really well for me.
Yeah, and so for all of us on the panel, or promoting at higher than average, that is what I do as well. My big thing is I buy so cheap, I'm okay with paying extra for promoted, because I typically buy at like 10% of what I'm going to sell it for. That's the average I pay. Sometimes 20, but most times I buy at 10%. So I promote it trending plus 3%. And that normally gets me around 20% total. And I look at it as like I'm selling on Poshmark too. Poshmark fees are 20%. So I'm okay paying 20% on eBay. And I used to do a flat rate, but then I realized a lot of the categories I sell in, the trending is only like 2 or 3%. So I was promoting at 10 and really didn't need to be promoting that high. So now like a trending 2% category will promote at 5, where before doing just a flat 10, I was promoting higher than I needed to. So I actually found out doing trending plus 3% was lower on most things than the 10% flat rate. And I think it brings a lot more sales as well. I am about doing volume. So I'm okay paying more fees to get that volume in there. I don't know if the guys can answer this or Katey. I will see. Allison wants to know if there are any tips for taking photos of clear glass, especially the lighting.
Joe and I sell glass.
I mean, I've sold a few glasses, like
Yeah, right.
drinking
Me
glass,
too.
you know.
Beer glass.
Yeah, but
A beer glass is clear.
yeah,
Right.
the only thing that I do, and it might be the wrong. I don't sell too many of it, but I just put a white piece of paper in some of the glass, some of the clear glasses that I'm taking a picture of, and that helps it out too. But that's, I mean, I sell a very little amount of glass.
Yeah, me too. I don't sell that much glass, but I do that as well. Take a piece of paper and just like wrap it up and put it in the glass so that whatever the graphic is can put through. But also, I have a black background and a white background that I can use either way. And when I sell those glasses, I usually use the black background and then the clear glass with the paper, and it comes through okay. But I don't sell a lot of like fancy glass. But I sold what's that? I don't know that. I can't think of it now. Darn it! I just sold one piece over the summer. It was like it's like the fancy, like, I can't think of it. But I did sell one over the summer. I used my black background. I'll find it.
I have like 3 glass items listed, and there's a huge ring light right there in the picture on the glass. I mean, I don't have any tips or tricks. The only tips or tricks that I do have is like certain angles that I use for books that have glossy dust jackets, which is the same kind of concept. It's really, really shiny, and you try to kind of keep the ring light out of there. But yeah, I have no advice on that one. So take it away, Kat.
So for me, I don't freak out with the ring light being, as long as you can still see the glass item, then I think people are probably used to the ring light being on it. I will, if there's a design like they were saying, or there are words on it, I will do like the tissue paper inside of the glass. If you just tilt your phone like a tiny bit, you can get rid of a ton of glare. So like step forward, step back, angle your phone a different way. You can also turn your ring lights away. Like you can see I'm catching my ring light on my glasses here, and just me tilting my head down, just a shade gets rid of it. So you can tilt the angle of your ring light, but I'm not OCD about like having no ring light showing on my glass, because I think people are used to that. And as long as you can still see the product fine, then I don't over worry about it. I typically do it on white and use photo room. I used to do black, but now I found when I use photo room and on white, it kind of still gives it the floating look. But black, I used to do black a lot for the clear glass as well. So I would not focus on getting it perfect, but make sure it's in focus so that they can, see the lines and see what it actually looks like, more so than having it be perfect. All right, Mr. Jeremy, what's your 1, 3, 5 year? No big deal. No big deal. Well, what's your plan for your business in a nutshell?
Like I said, I do this part-time, so I have a few things that I use the money for. Mainly the money that I make from reselling pays the kids' tuition, and then whatever I have left, I have 3 kids. So whatever's left over at the end of that, we use for a nice vacation. So that's just my motivation now. My oldest son is just starting high school. So, and then I have one in grade school, and then I have one that's in preschool. So I have them all stretched out. So that 1, 3, and 5 year plan for me is just going to be continuing to do what I'm doing. Like I said, I do it part-time. I find times throughout the year, sometimes with sports, I have a little bit less time. When there's no sports going on, I have a little bit more time. But just to continue that, being able to pay the kids' tuition for, the next so many years that I have left, that's just pretty much my plan. It's not that exciting. I'm sorry.
Hey, listen, I'm full time and I got kids, and it's still tough. You know what I mean? They have stuff going on all the time. I guess my plan is just to keep I probably don't have a 5-year that far out plan, but just to keep listing, I need to get my listings up. Eventually, maybe my 5-year plan is to get like a lister, someone to actually do it for me. And I think Kat has one.
I have 3.
Oh, 3. Okay. Maybe Kat will lend me one of her listers. And my 5-year plan is to get Kat to lend me one of her listers. No, just kidding. But like, I feel like I'm still learning things like, like even what sells. And I've been doing full time for a little while now, you know what I mean? And just being more picky in general, better relationships with people that I find like at flea markets that are always there. And you got to meet this guy, you got to meet that guy, whatever, and get to know who they are. And I don't know, just grinding it, just really grinding it. Yeah, that's as far as more listings and a lister at some point.
Very nice. So 1, 3, 5-year plan. I would say the 1 year, definitely like getting more organized, finding space, expanding, deciding, I've very much honed in on the book niche, and I'm still working on that, especially now with vintage and antiquarian books. But I want to find a couple other niches within the next year that I can like really master and get to know. So yeah, I've been learning a lot from Kat on that. And then I would say 3 and 5 year is how can I kind of step away from the business a little bit once, I've kind of established a structure. How can I have someone, even if it was like a VA doing small things for me? So yeah, that's definitely the dream and the goal. I mean, it's crazy to think, but in the next 5 years, I'm going to have an 18-year-old and a 5-year-old. So, that's a very big age gap. So yeah, definitely also figuring out, the next transition for my daughter, whatever she decides to do after high school, that type of thing, and having money set aside for her. And hopefully by 5 years, all your girl will have for debt is her mortgage. So, that's the other goal too. So, yeah, I would say in a nutshell, that's it for me.
Yeah. So I do have my listers. I would like to have somebody that can kind of oversee more, but nobody has shown that interest. So I think it would just be a matter of fact of finding the right person. Like my daughter's in college, so her listing for me is her job. I don't think she's really interested in learning more. I wish she was, but she's not. And then so a year from now, it probably is about the same, just strengthening the higher dollar. Like I just did a big auction haul. I'm actually going to have a video out tomorrow, and the results of that are insane. I did over $800 a day, 5 days in a row. I did over $1,000 yesterday. So I am getting a lot better at finding the high dollar items, and I want to kind of work on doing that a little bit more. I still love my lots, so I'm not going to go away from my lots and my $10 and $15 items. Those aren't going anywhere because I'm about a deal. So as far as 3 years, I would like to have somebody in here where I agree with Katey, like I could step away. I don't want to step away completely, but I would like to be able to take like a week and take a true vacation and have my business function just like it would if I was here. And of course, growing my 1 year by the end of next year, I would like to have a play button. I would like to have 100,000 subscribers. That's like a big goal for by the end of next year. I'm over halfway there at this point. And then as far as a 5 year, I want to continue teaching. I have really learned that like my gift and my passion is teaching people and helping people grow. So I just want that to continue growing and be able to do that more. And I would like to travel some more. I would like to, but that means letting go of my control aspect of my business to be able to travel, which is hard. And like Dalton, like Katey said, like right now, Dalton's starting pre-K a week from today, which is kind of crazy to me. And by then I've got to decide, like Joe said, he has tuition. I'm kind of on the fence. Dalton's going to a charter school. If I want him to go to a private school, I'm going to have to drive him an hour each way every day. So I have to see kind of where that goes and how he does with the charter school here where we live, which is where my older children went, but it only goes through 5th grade. So that could mean a big difference for us coming up at that, because I think education's important and I want to make sure he's functioning well wherever he is. I think Katey and I have talked about this because it's super expensive. It's really expensive for private school. So I would have to like up my game since this is my only income. We are up to 6,000 listings now though. I said my goal was 5,000 and now I guess it's heading towards 10,000. So
Right.
yeah. Well, that's what happens when you buy 1,000 license plates and 600 Harley pins and your inventory like doubles with 2 buys. So yeah. Duncan wants to know on eBay, how do you deal with the item specifics? Do you think you should fill out as many as possible or just the required ones?
I make sure that I have the required ones filled in. All the other suggested ones that, they keep sending you, I'll fill them in event. If I have some time, I'll fill some in, but I really try to don't focus too much time on the suggested ones. I fill as many as I know in when I'm doing the listing, but all the extra ones I don't really pay attention to.
Yeah, I just do the required ones. I don't do the suggested ones or whatever. That there's always new suggested ones. I just don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with the guys. To get the listing done, I just do the required ones and whatever, because I do sell similar, whatever recommended ones that kind of trickle over from the listing that I'm borrowing.
Right.
But I did do a test because I wanted to make a video about it. I did do a test and I took 50 listings and I filled every little thing out. And it's been almost 2.5 weeks and not a single one of those items has sold.
Yeah.
So I am not very motivated, eBay, to fill that out, I guess. So that's my take.
Yeah, you have to do the required ones, obviously, to get the listing up. There are like 3 or 4 that I always fill out. And that is it vintage? Yes or no? Because people, I believe, will filter by that. Mm-hmm. Is it signed? So with my art glass and my pottery, is it antique? And the color. So I fill out the specifics that I think people will filter by. So I think they will filter if it's vintage. I think they'll filter if it's signed. And those are the ones that I'm going to fill out. If I don't think I don't think they're going to, unless it's a tablecloth or something, I don't think the measurements really matter. And I put pictures with a tape measure. Right. But I think if you're selling vintage and signed are 2 you should definitely fill out. Like Katey, if it's like first edition, like I feel like people would search for that. Yeah. So I say, look at the specifics. And if you think somebody might click on that, like if you're doing clothing, I would fill out the size, the color, and the brand, even if it's not required, because people might filter by that. But other than that, if I don't think they're filtering by it, I'm not filling it out. All right, Miss Evangeline wants to know, do we think that changing the custom SKU activates the algorithm? So like if you update where your item is, do you think that's enough of a change to activate the algorithm?
I'm not 100% sure. I just put the custom SKU in as soon as I list it, and I usually never go back to changing it. So I don't know. Sometimes I end items and relist them, if they're, the last day of the 30 days that is listed or whatever, I'll end them early and sometimes relist them that way. And sometimes I guess that helps, but I don't think changing just a custom SKU would do too much to the algorithm.
I think it does, but only if you do it on Tuesdays when there's a full moon. It definitely messes with the algorithm then. No, I don't know. Everyone's always trying to figure out that algorithm thing. And I think there is something to changing the listing, like maybe the title, the description, the price, one of those main key factor things, possibly. But I don't think this custom SKU field would do anything to the algorithm. That's just my take.
Yeah, I would agree with the guys. Again, what Mike said, I'll piggyback on that. Like if you wanted to maybe adjust some keywords or maybe add a little bit something to your listing. Like if it was a first edition book that had a dust jacket, maybe include those two things in the, details. But yeah, I have never seen a custom SKU create or correlate, I should say, with a sale for me.
Yeah, I don't think it would, because I think that's more backdoor. So that's not something that's published on your eBay listing. That's like behind the scenes for you as a seller. So I don't think it would activate the algorithm at all. I sometimes, and I'll tell you guys, I did a test and there's no video because the test sucked. I ended 100 items and I never end and relist. I ended 100, relisted 100, and 0 have sold. So there will be no video. That did absolutely nothing for me.
Yeah.
Not convince me that I need to do it. And I have always almost been on the anti end and relist part of that decision. So I will remain on that. But I will bulk edit and either move my price down by a penny. And I think changing the price does, and you can bulk change and drop your price or increase it by 1 cent. And I think that would kick it in. I very rarely do it. But I think that would give you more of a algorithm bump than the SKU. I don't think the SKU would do any at all. All right, Mr. Jeremy, what's the thing that makes you giggle like a schoolgirl when you remember flipping it? This is a great question for the guys.
I don't know. I can't think of any. I'm always shocked. I mean, it doesn't make me giggle like a schoolgirl, but I'm always shocked at the things that sell like vintage underwear, the packs of underwear. That gets me every time. I do pick up a lot of them. I seem to find a lot of packs of like Fruit of the Loom or Hanes vintage underwear, and I can't believe the price that people are paying for some old underwear. That always gets me, I get a good laugh at that, but can't really think of anything else really.
Believe it or not, I quite often giggle like a schoolgirl. So, what amazes me, I guess, what always sells, I do it well with pencils, and I think other people giggle like a schoolgirl at me for selling pencils. But I pick up. No one looks at pencils anywhere you go. Vintage pencils. And,
I look at pencils.
Okay, Kat, except for Kat.
I look at them now because of Mike.
Yeah, Joe does look at them. I mean, once you get to know the brands, it's like anything else. You know what I mean? And but you go to a flea market or estate sale, and they got a drawer full of pencils and stuff, and I just lot them up and put them on eBay auction. Again, I know people probably laugh at that, but I buy 10 of them for $1 or less, and then they end up selling for crazy amounts of money. So I don't know. I like selling pencils, and I talk about it quite often in my YouTube channel.
I would say the one flip that still makes me laugh is Taco Bell hot sauce packets.
Ooh.
The ones that were Will You Marry Me and I Do, and like all the like romantic things that are sometimes kind of hard to find now. Yeah, I sold those just for fun, just to try it out one day. I think it was during the pandemic. I was bored. And I listed it and they sold. So, yeah, that makes me giggle.
Nice.
My thing, and I mentioned it on my plush video, Mr. Hanky Poo from South Park, a plush that was like this big, sold for $50 overnight. And I paid $1 for it, and it was in the dog toy basket at an estate sale. So that one is like a stuffed poop, sold for $50 overnight. So yeah, and like Mike, I watch like if you find like engineers, like because I do online estate auction, like people that were engineers, like some of those pencils bring crazy money. So I've been selling pencils. I haven't come across any in a long time because I don't go outsourcing. But when I see like other engineer type stuff, I always like some of their pencils are ridiculously expensive. All right. Duncan's last question, and then we're through the Jeremy and Duncan round. When sellers get crickets in the way of sales, what should they do if they were selling well and then all of a sudden they're not selling?
My biggest slowdown, like when I see sales slow down, it's mainly because of me. It's mainly because I'm not listing as much as I should, or I'll take a few days off without listing. And usually what gets things going again is when I start listing some items. There are some times where, with work and things like that, where I don't have enough time. That's when I do the ending the listing and relisting it. Hopefully I'm tricking the eBay a little bit by doing that instead of, actually listing new items. But that's what I do. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes, there's a lot of times that I look at the items that I have in my store. I only have about 500 items listed, but I have some bad items in my store that I picked up. They were bad buys. And sometimes I got to look at that too and just get rid of them out of the store, out of my eBay store. But I think listing more always helps out. And if you can't, and you don't have the time to list, maybe end some items, change them, tweak them a little bit, like the title and the price, and that might help out a little bit too.
Yeah, to piggyback on Joe's comments there, I just try to keep listing as much as I can. I know it's hard sometimes when you're not selling. Listing, just listing, even maybe cross posting. Try Macari or add to Macari if you have a Macari account, or Poshmark for clothing or whatever. You know what I mean? Maybe even Facebook Marketplace. You pick it up and no fees or whatever. Or change, like Joe said. Maybe. Change the title or end and relist, something like that. Also, I always usually have a number of watchers that I can send offers to. I try not to hit price as like one of those things, like if sales are slow, like drop price on items and run a sale. Or I try not to do that. But like Kat, I tend to buy items at a pretty decent price from, for what they cost me. So if I have 30 watchers of send offers out, I can send 30 offers and drop 10% or 5% and just see what happens. Or a combination of all those three things: list more, cross post more, change something, and relist, send a few offers. It's the summertime though. Sometimes some days are slow. Lately, it's up and down my days. I'll have really good days and then days with like hardly any sales. And then back up again, and then down for 2, and back up for 3. It's just that time. People are out and about and doing other things, and sometimes it is just the way it is.
Yeah. So I would say if you had things selling well, and then all of a sudden you have crickets, a couple different things that I do, because that does happen. It's happened to me. Yes, listing, but also I will go through older items, kind of like what Joe touched on. I will go through older inventory and evaluate, especially inventory that's over a year old. My favorite thing recently is sending out coupons to previous buyers. I really try to encourage repeat buys.
Is that working? Is that working? The coupons.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I keep thinking and going to make one, and I haven't done it. So, when did you start doing it?
Oh, I've only been doing it for about 2 months. And with that, I've gotten 6 repeat buyers. So that's enough for me to be motivated to keep doing it. Mm-hmm. Because what I'm doing as far as a coupon, you can do percentage, you can do shipping, you can do a certain amount off a certain amount, like $10 off of 50. So to motivate buyers to do volume, buy 2, get, this percentage off, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. So for me, out of 2 months, having 6 repeat buyers, that's not bad. I'll take that, especially because they're buying multiple. And it saves them on shipping a little bit too, doing that. And then because I do, like Mike touched on, I do a free book pickup service in my local area. So I get large bulk quantities of books for free. And so I will reevaluate those books as well, which is, 85% of my store being books, almost 100% of that is the free books. So I will evaluate that as well and see, can I bring my price down? did I price it before I had Worth Point? Because until I got Worth Point, I was kind of out there a little bit with some of my prices on my older listings. I thought something was there that was not there for some of the older books. So I kind of reevaluate. So all that to say, I do a kind of a checklist of different things that kind of resuscitate my store. And typically within a day or two, I got a sale and I'm back on track. That's my experience.
So I would first make sure I don't have a negative feedback, because that has been the cause of my sales to like tank several times. And then if I do have one, I would see if it's something that is legit or something that I can contact eBay for Business and have removed. My last 2 negatives I've gotten removed by eBay for Business. I feel like negative feedbacks will hit your sales. So for me, that would be like the first thing that would come to my mind would be like, did somebody leave me a negative feedback and can I get it removed? And I would be more on the list end of things, which is what I do. That's why I think my sales have been so high. I've really been pushing because I did go source when I'm really trying not to add to my death pile. We listed, it's almost all listed, almost 200 items I just picked up on Thursday. So not even a week, and all 200 items are listed, and it's made $1,000 sales days. It's been incredible. It's been just me and my daughter listing, probably about half and half. She did about 100. I did 100. And so I would list, but if they're slow, I actually will sort my listings from highest dollar to lowest. And like Katey said, I'll look, and if they're a high dollar that's been there over a year, I'll be like, okay, what did I pay? Can I drop this down $100? And I've got 10 watchers. Will that entice one of them to buy it? So I do that as well. But the main thing is just clicking and listing and having I just list like a crazy person. That's my main thing.
Kat, we have a super sticker. I thought you might want to.
Okay. I see that. I thought I saw Canoes. Does Sunkist have some Canoes that I'm not seeing? Or what? Oh, we have two. There's Canoes up there. I see Canoes. Sunkist, thank you. Sunkist sends me a super sticker almost every premiere. I greatly appreciate you. You're absolutely amazing. I'm glad I'm live, because when I'm live, I can give you the dolphin, and in the premieres I cannot. So here is your dolphin. Super chat. That was delayed. I'm like, where is it? Is that Beachcomber, I think? Who is that? Beach Walker. Man, I knew the picture. Beach Walker 22, $5 super chat. Thank you. Says, I have a Harley Davidson frame with Harley Davidson pins. Should I sell it separately or risk trying to ship the glass frame with the pins and a foam backing? So what do we all say about that?
I try to find the easiest way to do things. So I would be selling the pins without the frame. But I would definitely check the comps to see if that frame is a big part of the value of the pins. Sometimes the pins might not be worth as much without the frame. If it's all worth something together, then I would, sell it together that way.
Right. I'm with Joe there kind of. Also, it depends on, what did you pay for it, right? Did you get it for free? Did you have to pay a lot for it? I would cherry pick out the good pins. Some of them Harley David pins sell for some really good money. Maybe sell those high dollar ones separately. And then, the other ones, if they're not worth that much and the frame itself's not worth that much, maybe put all that together and maybe that sells, as one big listing. And then you can part out some of the other high dollar pins. I wouldn't be afraid of shipping it. The glass with the pins and the backing and all, just pack it well. You'll be okay.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with the guys. Only also because I recently had a situation, Kat knows about this. A buyer reached out to me. I had a framed, embroidered, like Mayflower art thing. I don't know. And yes. And they reached out to me and said, if I offered you a little bit less to take the frame out of the equation and you just sent me could shipping be a little bit cheaper? Would you take an offer? So I took an offer of $10 less than my listing price, and they got cheaper shipping. I was able to remove it just fine from the frame.
And it makes your life
a little bit of
too.
Huh?
I said that makes your life a lot easier too,
Right.
without.
Oh
the frame.
yeah, because I don't have to. It was a huge 25 by 32 frame. I mean, that was huge.
Oh, wow.
So that would have been quite a bit to ship out. So and yeah, the packing and everything else. But if I had to do it, I could have done it. So yeah, the frame wasn't really the meat and potatoes of that sale. It was the embroidery piece. So I think to piggyback on what Mike's saying is, and also keep in mind, some people don't want like this huge display thing. That could have been something that a collector did and got over time. Someone may just want one of those Harley pins, and they see your listing and they're like, I'm not going to buy that whole thing. And so they move on. So I think it would be worth it to kind of look at everything before you decide how to list it.
Yeah, so after listing 600 Harley pens, and we are listing more now from my friend's personal collection. So one of my listers is listing her collection, so I'm paying her to list it, and then we're splitting the profits because her and her husband had Harleys in the road, and it was taking up like their whole spare bedroom. So she's listing them, we're splitting the profit. I would say I would separate every single one, and I didn't lot any of mine up because I found almost all of them I could get at least $10 on the low end. There were a few that were like $8, but most of them I could get $10 or more. So I did each one individually, and I will tell with any pens, and I think I still have some. So like these, I bought a bunch of vintage hats, and this guy, look, he had like Hard Rock, he had like skiers, Hard Rock Aspen. I took every pen. These were all on hats. Like there were like 3 and 4 on each hat. This was full. That's what's left of it. I've made hundreds of dollars off of these pens. So even when I get hats and vests, the only exception to that would be like a Harley leather vest that it would show damage if I removed the pens. Then I might think twice about it. But if there was a $100 pen on a $20 vest, I'm going to toss the vest and I'm going to list the pens by themselves. So I would say 9 times out of 10, I would list the pens by themselves. And then if the frame's nice, you could list it. And if it's not, I have 2 really nice frames sitting next to me that had $300 plates in them. And I haven't listed them yet. I haven't decided what I'm doing with them because the plates inside were worth $300 each. But I'm like, I'm not shipping that in a frame where these plates could like move all around. Right. So I took them out. But the frames are they're sitting like 2 feet from me. The frames are really nice. So I might list the frames and sell the frames separately too. All right, here is your dolphin, so I don't forget. Super chat. All right, I think this is for Katey. I don't know if anybody else really does much books. What is the easiest platform to list books on?
Do you want me to go first or Joe?
I've sold a few books in the past.
Okay, all right. Have at it, Joe. Let's hear it.
I always sell on eBay. So, I saw a little bit on Facebook Marketplace, and I've sold on Macari in the past. But any of the books that I've sold were on eBay. But
yeah, same for me. I've sold a few books. And ephemera items as well, your booklets or whatever, your pamphlets or whatever you call them, eBay. And then I cross-post to Macari. So it's easier for me to cross-list on Macari because I use the service, but eBay is the way to go, I think, for me.
So I would say the easiest platform to list books on is whatever platform you're most comfortable with. So you don't have to learn something new. Because learning anything new, period, is going to be difficult. To that, I would also say if you want something very simple where shipping, you don't have to think about it too much. Poshmark, you can sell books. You can sell interior design style books. You can sell out of print books. I mean, people were selling Dr. Seuss books there for a very long time because eBay wouldn't allow the listings. So there's a lot of different ways, and selling books on Poshmark is definitely one of them. Mercari is another one. Their shipping is a little bit more, you know, I would say you click a box and choose an option. There's not all these different options like with eBay that can be overwhelming. And then with eBay, if you're comfortable with that platform, media mail is the cheapest and your go-to. Just keep in mind that you absolutely can only send the book. Media mail can get opened at any time. And if there's so much as a bookmark in there or a thank you card or anything, they will make you pay either priority or first class, depending where the weight is on that package. It's happened to me. It happened to me when I first started. So I always tell people that you could maybe get away with it for years, but they can open that package and they will. So, but yeah, I guess it just depends what you're comfortable with. And then as far as listing, any platform, you're going to want to make sure you take, you know, front, back, side, copyright page, all those things matter. You got to kind of think like a buyer when you are taking pictures of books because they can't physically see it. So you want to show any flaws and, you know, kind of like anything else. So I guess that's what I would say. Whatever platform you're most comfortable on. Amazon is a totally different beast, but it does have the largest audience. And Amazon was books when it first started out. So if you're comfortable diving into that, you can do what's called merchant fulfilled, where you make the listing and you ship it out, or you can do something that's called FBA, fulfilled by Amazon, where you make the listing, you send it into Amazon warehouse, and they pack it and ship it out for you and handle customer service. But you definitely pay for that. And they are not in the business to be your storage. So they will start dinging you once you're at a certain amount, usually 6 months, and then 12 months is now when they're dinging you if your inventory still hasn't sold. So just a lot of different moving pieces. I would say start with what you're comfortable on first, and then branch out and cross list as you see fit.
Perfect. Yeah, and I think most all of my books have sold on eBay, and I do have them on the multiple platforms, but I think pretty much most of mine sell on eBay. When I've had rare, like first edition or signed, I've auctioned those on eBay and they've done well. I think eBay has a pretty big audience as well, so I think that's a good option too. All right, this question is for Katey. What are the top 3 book genres new booksellers may want to focus on to start building a book category in their own store?
Okay. So I would say focus on nonfiction. Bibles sell amazing. Religious sells amazing. Theology, textbooks sell very well. The only thing with textbooks is just make sure you're not dealing with a fake one. So, you know, you're going to want to check the inside of it and, you know, kind of look it over, make sure it doesn't look a little wonky or weird, because there are a lot of fake textbooks out there. So nonfiction for sure. And then next, I would say children's books, but you're typically going to be selling those in lots. And by children's books, I would mean like chapter books, your 90s books, Boxcar Kids, Babysitter's Club, Goosebumps, stuff like that. And you're going to want like a big set or a big lot. And then after that, I would say your vintage and antique books, you know, and just because vintage or antique book is really like broken or torn apart or whatever, if you get that for free or super duper cheap, I would still list it. I had a Bible that literally the spine was falling off, like it was in pieces, and I listed it and got $45 plus shipping for it. So, you know, because some people like to buy those and restore them and, you know, put them back together. So it's like when broken electronics sell, it's the same thing, but with a book. So I guess those would be the 3 genres that I would kind of consider. And with antique and vintage, I know that's not a genre, but really anything from classic fiction to nonfiction to, you know, spiritual.
And if they look cool too, if they look cool,
and I mean,
people
they
use
have
them for
to,
decor.
Yeah, they have to, you know, have that appeal, because condition is everything and dust jacket is everything when it comes to books. So keep that in mind as well, because that's usually 90% of the book's value is the dust jacket. So hope that helped.
Yeah, no, that was a lot of good information. I don't come across books that much, but I found on online auctions, it's hard for me to get them at a good price because the book collectors are on those auctions too. So they go, like, for me getting them on online auctions, they sell close to what I could get for them. So that's one thing that's really hard for me to get from online auctions at a good price.
Yeah.
So most of mine I found have been at estate sales where I'm not fighting with collectors on an auction.
That's where I found the book I sold for $500. Was an estate sale.
Was it an estate sale? Yeah, for sure. Miss Margaret said she's thinking about starting a second platform. She doesn't have the money to use List Perfectly yet, but she's trying to decide what platform she should do, either Etsy or Poshmark. She has tons of vintage everything. I know, Joe, I know you're just on eBay. Have you done any other platforms? So I guess if we could say, like, if we were to start a second platform, what would it be?
Like I said, 99% of it is eBay, and I do sell a little bit on Facebook Marketplace with the shipping option and things like that. And I did sell a little bit on Mercari, but I just did it myself. I just cross-listed myself. I have no experience with any kind of cross-listing software or anything else like that. I know Mike does use one, and he might be able to tell you a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, if it was me and I was just starting, I sell quite a bit on Mercari. So I would say Mercari. I know it's not one of your options.
Throw that into the mix. He's saying,
yeah,
and I would almost agree. Like, Mercari is going to be easier to list on than Etsy, and Mercari's less fees than Poshmark. So I would have to. I'm jumping in and saying I agree with
that's
that.
fine. Unless it's a lot of clothing, right? Then isn't Poshmark like, I don't sell. I sold a few pieces on there, but
was it? I think it was Monday's video. I have sold like everything but clothing on Poshmark. Like, my clothing doesn't sell on Poshmark. I sell like all my hard goods on Posh. So, Katie, what would you say? Ton of vintage everything. What would be your second platform?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would, if I'm choosing between Etsy or Poshmark, I would go with Poshmark just because it's easier to list and the shipping makes a little bit more sense. Etsy, they're charging you 20 cents to list it, and then the listing renews every 3 months. So you have to pay 20 cents every 3 months. Etsy, the scene is really handmade, crafts and digital downloads. And I'm not saying you couldn't. I know the College Picker sold a $5,000 jean jacket on Etsy. So I know things are possible. But if I had vintage everything, just because also Poshmark has like the home decor, the, clothing, the kids, all of that, they have more categories now as well. So I would gravitate to Poshmark if I had to choose between one of those two, for vintage stuff.
Yeah, I would, if I had to choose one, I would say Poshmark. Etsy is a lot more to list on. They want a lot more information, but as Mike said, I think I would throw that third one and say Mercari would probably be a little bit easier than Poshmark, and it's less fees. And Mercari doesn't have the whole sharing aspect. I pay a program to do my sharing and stuff, and I think that helps get a lot of sales. And I didn't get many sales without using it, which is another monthly fee. So if you're saying funds are tight as far as the business, I think Mercari might be a better third option to throw in there, and I think it would be easier for you to list on too. We have a Mimba.
Yeah, and we have a super sticker.
Oh, Nicole's Treasures sent a $1.99 super sticker. Thank you so much. Here's your dolphin.
Super chat.
And we have another one from Something Different.
That is Miss Laura. Thank you so much. Just because I love you, Kat. I love you too. Thank you so much. Here's your dolphin.
Super chat.
And then we get a different dolphin. Blockhead Arts. I like your name. I
Very
like her.
cool.
Listen, you see her picture. Dalton's thing lately is like he's obsessed with. I shared a
Nice.
picture on Instagram, like me and him on the boat. Like that, he's thumbs upping like everything. That's his thing. So he's in bed already, so I can't show him. I'll have to show him later though. So thank you for joining. What do we have? We have member sourcing coming up this Saturday, and then a week from Thursday will be eBay listing reviews. I try not to say store because it doesn't matter if you have a store or not. If you're new, we'll still review your listing to kind of see what we can do to help you do them better. So right now there is a lot of member stuff coming up in the next week and a half. I just had a nice week and a half off. So getting ready to hit the member lives. I do a lot of member only lives if you guys don't know. So welcome. Here is your dolphin.
Welcome to the flipping family.
And now I see another super chat coming in behind it. It's like the train.
Yes.
Oh, Allison said, thank you for answering her question. She used the list on half.com.
yeah.
I'm not familiar with that for books.
Yep, half.com, Biblio, and AbeBooks are kind of like all, and then they have.
Is it like a consignment shop for books?
No, it's kind of like a Craigslist for books because it's a little different, and I think it attracts a different demographic as well because it's all. I'm not aware of any of them having an app feature, so it's like desktop only.
Only people on the computer. Yeah, that makes sense.
And another thing is like if you had books that you needed to purge, like maybe you got them for free and you just need to get rid of them all at once. There is Zipit and sellbackyourbook.com. Those two, like you might get 25 cents per book, but if you have a bunch of them, you can scan those barcodes and kind of purge it and send it to them, and then they send you a PayPal deposit. So it's really nice.
Yeah, that sounds like it would work if you're trying to get rid of it fast. Thank you, Miss Allison. Here is your dolphin.
Super chat.
All right. Miss Cheryl says, if you refund somebody their money because there was a broken item or it doesn't fit, do you also return their shipping? In other words, the shipping they originally paid to get the item.
If it's something that I did wrong, I usually refund the shipping and all that. But if it's something that I send out, a pair of jeans or something like that, and they don't fit, I end up keeping their initial shipping. But if it's a broken item or something like that, then, if it falls on my end, that I do refund it.
Yeah, I'm with Joe on that. And then I'll try to, if it's broken, like it got there broken, I'll try to, file a claim with, whatever carrier shipped it. So I could, try to get my money back there. But if it doesn't fit, then they're not getting a full refund from me because I list the size and show the measurements and all that stuff. I won't refund their shipping, and most of the time I'll take a deduction off the refund total. Like I can do up to 50% of the refund, and I mean I won't give it all back. eBay makes them whole on their side anyway, so they're getting their money.
Yeah, if you're a top rated seller, they will they will pay them that.
Yeah.
What was the question again?
If you get if you have an item that's broke, or if they say it doesn't fit, do you return, like you're giving them a refund, do you refund them the original shipping that they paid?
Oh, I always just, in those situations that have popped up, I don't sell clothing, but in a few situations where it's been like an electronic or something like that, I just click full refund and eBay does its thing. So I am assuming
I think the default is not to return the shipping.
Yeah,
I've never turned it on.
Right.
Yeah, it's always been their price. Now, if they're going to send it back to me, I cover that. I offer free returns.
Right.
So if they're going to send it back to me, but in most situations, I try to avoid that. If they can show me pictures that it's genuinely broken or something's genuinely wrong, I'm just going to refund them and tell them to keep it because I don't want the hassle of going back and forth. Very rarely are they sending it back to me. So.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Joe and say if it's my fault, then I probably will refund them the shipping. But if it doesn't fit or they're not happy because of whatever, then I'm not going to. But if you're a top rated seller, eBay will refund them for you out of their pocket. So they will get their money if they file a claim. But if it's like doesn't fit or wasn't the right color, then I am not going to refund it. I wanted to say real quick, because Richard did reach out to me. As far as questions and us getting to them, I still am not even to 8 o'clock, guys. So we have almost 550 people in the chat. So people have learned that I'm behind. I very rarely make it to questions asked like after 9 p.m. So I am still answering questions people asked before we even started. So if you want to make sure your questions get answered, unfortunately, with as many people as we get on the show now, you have to ask them quite a bit earlier. We could still get to them. We still have an hour left, but we do have over 550 people. So I try to get to as many as possible, but I go in the order that I got them. And like the question that I just answered was put in at 7:49 p.m., 10 minutes before we started.
Right.
So unfortunately, we don't get through all of them. We used to be able to, but now that we get so many, it's hard to get to them. So I apologize. I promise we're trying to get to as many of them as we can. Do I see Stephanie, Sassy Granny? Listen, I called her Sassy Granny Pants in my video. She bought a dress for me and it had a stain, and I actually refunded her whole price. And she told me I didn't have to, but I did anyways, because it was like a tropical print and I didn't notice like right here was a stain.
Oh, no.
But she said I made her and her husband laugh because I called her Sassy Granny Pants. So now I'm going to make them laugh again because I just did it again. Sassy Granny Plus, aka Stephanie, who is coming to FlipCon. So I'm excited to meet you. Here is your dolphin.
Super chat.
All right. Thank you. I'm going to I'm just going to have to call. I think I have somebody called Sassy Granny Pants, but now Stephanie will be Sassy Granny Pants too. Diane wants to know, she said when she lists, she will put, I'm assuming in her description, sent in a poly mailer or bubble mailer. Do you think it's necessary to put that?
I don't usually put it in there. Now, I will tell you something that I put in if I'm selling like a DVD or something that ships media mail. I do say in the description, it's just something that I already have typed out in the notes. So I just, cut and paste it over. I just usually put in there that this item will be shipped out media mail. Media mail usually takes a few extra days to arrive. Just I put that in there because there was a lot of times that when I was selling, I bought it a couple of years ago. I bought a huge DVD collection, and it seemed like I got them all listed at one time, and they were the questions that I was getting is, when is my item going to arrive? So once I started doing that and selling a lot of DVDs, I put that in the description. In the description that it just takes shipping it media mail. It does take a few extra days to arrive, but I never put anything in there about a poly mailer. No.
I don't put anything about poly mailer or bubble mailer, but I do one item I sell. When I sell hats, like vintage snapback hats or whatever, fitted hats, I always put in the description, "Will ship in a box." Because I think there's a lot of sellers out there that will not ship a hat in a box.
I ship all my hats in a box, and the hat guy got mad at me because he ships in all polys, but I believe in shipping hats in a box.
Me too. And if you ship them in a poly, that's fine. I don't ship them in a poly. I think it helps me with my sales where I ship them in a box, and I put that in my description. That's the only item I put in there. The only item that I talk about
maybe I should put that in mine. I don't put it in mine, but I do ship all my hats in a box.
Mm-hmm.
I do not put that I'm using a poly mailer or a bubble mailer. So just my opinion, I think a little too much extra work for yourself, unless it's like in that situation with hats or something that specific type of product, you're going to go above and beyond for. Yeah, I've never with any of my listings. Now, granted, most of what I sell is books, and a lot of people do send books just in a poly mailer. Mine are always in some type of bubble mailer, or sometimes triple double wrapped and put in a box because it's a $150 book. So it just kind of depends. But I've never put that in my description, and thankfully, knock on wood, I haven't had any problems.
Yeah, and I agree. Look at your price point, though. I agree with Katey. Like, I don't care what it is. If it sells over $50, it's going in a box. And 9 times out of 10, if it's going international, it's going in a box. I did ship a license plate in a poly international because it's metal. But those are kind of my steadfast rules. If it's over $50, it's going in a box. April, I'm going to go ahead and answer this because it's pretty straightforward. She said if she's mailing a package she sold on eBay, can she use her own box to mail it priority, or does it have to be a USPS box? You can use any box you want for priority. The only thing is it doesn't go the other way. You can't use a priority mailbox for first class or UPS or FedEx, but for priority, the only real thing to watch out for is don't use a liquor, because they have laws for shipping liquor interstate. So I would not use a liquor box without wrapping that.
And make sure your priority mailbox isn't flat rate either. Like if you're just doing regular priority mail, make sure you're not using a flat rate box.
Oh yeah, because they will charge you for that flat rate price, which most times is actually more. Miss Betty wants to know if any of us use Terapeak on eBay.
Nope. WorthPoint is my second comp thing because again,
everybody
I do a lot
shook
of
their head.
books.
Yeah. So the thing with Terapeak, it's free though, right? Like, do you use it, Joe?
I don't use it. I'm lucky enough to have a friend that I bother about WorthPoint.
Me too. Is it the same friend?
It could be the same friend.
Probably the same friend.
So I reach out to that friend if I really need to look something up that I can't find anything on. But I don't sell too many items that I need help with. Right. I know like some ephemera and some other antique items you might need a little bit more help on.
I think I would use Terapeak if it was more convenient to use in the eBay app. Like if it was a filter or a feature related item, because I know it's included with my store subscription. It was a little bit easier.
I think they made it free to everybody. I think.
I'm not. Yeah, that just shows how much I don't use it. But if it was like easier to use, I probably would maybe use it a little bit more, but I don't. WorthPoint's an app. I can use my WorthPoint and boom, boom, and move on.
You know what's so funny is I don't use the WorthPoint app. I only use it in the browser. And when I met Dana, the VP of WorthPoint, she's like, can you use that? I'm like, but I don't use the app. I'm like, I just go to my browser and go to worthpoint.com. So there is an easier way, and I'm stubborn, and like I just use the browser even when I'm on my phone. I don't use Terapeak. Terapeak doesn't have pictures. And Terapeak also only goes back a year. So that's why I don't use it. I like WorthPoint because it has the pictures. I can make sure what I'm looking at is what I actually have. And that's why I feel like it's worth it. And I'm going to show you guys because I use WorthPoint for this. This just sold to Seoul, South Korea for over $200, and there were none listed. This was a WorthPoint comp that I listed 2 days ago, and they just paid going to Seoul. And the crazy thing about that is it was supposed to have a bowl, and I did not know that. But I found somebody else listed just the base, just like that on WorthPoint. So I had prices to comp. And because I didn't even know I was missing the bowl that went on top until I started really looking. And I'm like, oh, but it was still worth over $200. And I only paid $40. So that was good. Miss Sue wants to know our opinion. She's going on vacation Friday. So if you were going on vacation, would you load up your store before you left, or would you make drafts and activate them while you were gone?
Last vacation I went on, I tried to do that. I tried to build up a few listings and just do it over the time that I was gone. That's what I've done. but I'm not sure either way if one way is better than the other. But I usually spread them out over the time I'm away.
Yeah, I would do it that way too. I think one thing that does work with eBay's algorithm is like listing at least a few items every day, right? Consistent listing every day. So for me personally, I would try to just do a bunch of drafts, and then every day, either in the morning before everything got going on your vacation, or over lunch or whatever, at night when it all winds down, pop on a couple of those drafts and hit complete, and then you're done. That's how I would do it. But I don't really know if that's true or not, but that's how I would do it.
I do it actually a couple different ways. It depends, obviously, on context. Like if it's a vacation where you're not going to have good internet service and you're on a beach somewhere and, that type of thing, then yeah, I would probably crank them out before you leave. And then just be prepared for the effects of maybe not listing for however long you're gone. But if you are able to list, I do it a couple different ways. I do create drafts and just let them sit there like a complete listing ready to go. I just need to activate it. And I will also sometimes just take a bunch of pictures, let them sit on my phone. And then like Mike mentioned, if we're sitting in the hotel and got done with dinner and you're just hanging out, doing nothing, I will maybe take one or two, create one or two listings, throw in the picture, because I've already got the pictures on my phone. So I can reference the pictures, create the listing, and make two listings right then and there. I don't know what way one or the other activates things. I don't know if draft activate it as much as like a start to finish listing. I don't know, but I do it both ways.
Yeah, and I do the same thing. I think I don't hide at all. I'm a workaholic, so I probably never take a true vacate. My nurse flipper camps were probably one exception. I did not look at my phone the whole day during those camps, and I didn't list anything during my camps. But typically I do like Katey. I have both. I will have drafts sitting there, plus I will have pictures. And my goal when I go on vacation typically is 10 listings a day that I still put up, because I am just like, and that's low for me because I typically do 30 to 50. So 10 is vacation mode for me. But it would probably be healthy for me to like not do that. But let's
try and bring it down to 2, Kat. Let's try and bring it down to 2.
Okay, maybe. Probably not. My next vacation will be FlipCon. So like during FlipCon, I will not be looking at my phone. I won't lie though, and I think it was Kevin, Commonwealth Picker, when we were in Cincinnati at the hotel, I was like sitting on the couch doing drafts while everybody was like mingling. I was, yeah. And Kevin's like, man, I thought I was hardcore. And there's Kat, like, yeah. So that's just me. I don't have an off switch really. I won't lie. Tay is in the house.
Hey,
How are you?
So I just got to 8:00. Tay posted that at 8:01. So you guys know where I'm at in the chat. Tay will be co-hosting next week for me. And we will have Scott Cha-Ching King and Rachel Strickland on next week. So that will be a fun show next week. So thank you for hopping in, Tay. So now you guys know where I'm at. Now I'm seeing all the hellos. The Thrifting Librarian, tips from the panel to list faster on eBay. I am so slow. My death pile might swallow me alive.
One little trick that I call it a trick, but it's something that I did on my end that really helped me with getting more listings up and things like that is I actually start my listing. Like if I'm at a thrift store or a flea market and I decide that if I take the time to look up this item and I decide to buy that item, I actually take the time right there in the store to start the draft. I list sell similar right there. And of course I don't take the pictures or anything there, but that listing is always in the draft. So when I come home and I process some things, if it's, I have to clean up some sneakers or something like that, I always have that draft right there. So all I have to do is just take the pictures, change the price if I'm going to do anything, make sure the item specifics are, correct to the item that I'm selling, and then list the item. that's helped me out a whole lot with doing things a little bit faster. Before, I used to look up the item at the thrift store, of course, decide if I'm going to buy it or not. And then I'm looking it up again a second time when I get home, preparing the listing. So doing that little thing, it's helped me out a lot, and it's helped me list faster. My death pile, I still have a death pile. It's not going to get rid of your death pile, but that little bit might save you a little bit of time.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Joe. I should actually start doing that too.
I said that the first time he came on, Mike, and
yeah. Yeah, I haven't done it either. Yeah. I would say, try to list similar items together, like in one shot. Like if you have, 5 whatevers, you know what I mean? Try to list them together in one shot. It should go a little quicker for you that way. I take pictures on my phone, but I list on the desktop. And I don't know if you do it on the desktop or not, whoever asked this question, but eBay has I don't know if it's new, but they have a feature where you can just duplicate the listing, and you can duplicate like the same listing like more than one time. So you could say, I want 5 duplicate listings of this one as you're doing a draft.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
I don't know if it's on the phone. I do it on the desktop. So if you guys are just doing it on the phone, don't at me. All right. All right. But like, I bought a bunch of like He-Man Masters of the Universe figures, right? The action figures. And a lot of the title and the description is the same. The name of the figure is different, obviously. And the price is going to be different depending on the figure, the rarity and all that stuff. But a lot of the bulk of the listing is the same. And I had like 10 or 12 of them. And I just copied 10 of them. And then I went in, you got to go in and change, Skeletor, He-Man, whatever. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. The price, if there's anything wrong with it. Right, She-Ra, yeah. So that might help if you're doing it on the desktop. But I would say, or also, time management. We don't talk a lot about it. Try to find the times of the day where you're able to do more than other times of the day, right? So like, I know 30 listings is a great goal. There's no time I could sit down and do 30 straight like that in one shot. You know what I mean? So for me, that's me. I have to break it up like, 5, 7, whatever, do my other stuff I got to do, laundry, whatever, lunch, blah, 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 go sourcing, come back, 5, blah, 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 10, at night, whatever. I mean, maybe chunk it up a little bit. That might help you. I don't know. Those are my thoughts.
So I guess I would be a little curious, like Mike said, how you're listing. Are you doing it on the app? Or are you doing it on the desktop? I am the opposite. I love the app. I can list so much faster with the app. I do what Joe kind of said. As I am sourcing and looking up comps on things, I will immediately save for later certain comps that I find and then go back to it later. So that way it's already in my drafts. And sometimes I will already put a price that I know I want to put on it, but then not do anything else, not descriptions or any of that other stuff. I'll just come back to it later. But that way I've already got that template started and I've already put in my price. So when I come back to it later, I'm not like, what did I want to list that for again? And all of that. So for me to make things faster for me on the app, I really just try sell similar as golden. I don't try to recreate the wheel, copy other listings as much as you can. Pay attention to some of the specifics though, because some people copy other people's listings and then it's this constant trickle of wrong information. So pay attention to some of the item specifics in the listings, but yeah, don't try and recreate the wheel. Do sell similar as much as possible. And then I would also say, just kind of piggybacking off what Mike said, dedicate a specific amount of time. And I think what might be, what ties down some of us as resellers is we're doing too much research for an item. That's what I hear a lot is some people will take an hour and a half researching just one item. That's too much. Try and keep yourself at a certain amount of time researching an item, and then just get it listed. And then you can always come back to it and adjust your price if you find something out later on. But if you're listing and you have an hour to list, get it done. Try and avoid doing all this extra long research. Or if you're really no, I think this is worth more, I need to do more research. Okay, well, maybe don't do it in this hour listing session. Do it in a different listing session where you can spend maybe 5 hours listing versus 1 hour. So I hope that helps. But, really, it's just about, using other people's templates. That is just the game changer. And then if you're doing it on the desktop, just kind of keep in mind what we talked about earlier in the show. You don't need 80 million item specifics. Focus just on the required ones if that's tying you down. If, pictures, if you're worried about the lighting and all these intricate things, like decide if it's really material or not. Are you having perfectionist paralysis and that's what's kind of slowing you down? Just all those different things. Figure out what areas you're struggling with. And maybe that means taking an hour, dedicating it to listing, and then just being self-aware and watching yourself during that time and seeing where the hiccup is. So I hope that helped.
All right. I'm going to solve everything. No descriptions. No descriptions. None. I've sold $15,000 this month. I do 0 descriptions, guys. 0. So
nothing in the field at all?
That is crazy. I could never.
Nothing. The only time my title is my description. The only time there is anything else is if it has a flaw. If not, there is no description, and I have no issues with selling. None whatsoever. Wow. I have told several people that, and they're like, oh my gosh, I listed so many. Yeah, because people don't read it. They don't pay attention. Don't do it. If you want to do it. But if you want to save time, I guarantee you, if you do no descriptions, you will save time, and I don't do them, and I haven't done them for years, and I'm still doing very, very well, and it does not. People don't even look at the pictures, guys. They don't even look at the darn pictures. Yeah. Like, I have a picture with a tape measure at the end. You want to know how many messages I get? How big is this? Did you look at the picture? So they wouldn't read. They wouldn't look at the pictures. Like, you don't have nothing in that description field. It's blank. It says the title.
Just the title. You know how the title is.
The title. Okay. Oh, because you do it on the phone and it's
the title copies as a description. Right. So my title is my description. That is.
I don't know. I don't think I'd be able to sleep at night if I didn't have something there.
I tried it. So my question is, has that ever caused an issue with a return or a dispute or anything with your item? Because you didn't have that description to fall back on.
Like, I have a picture with a measuring tape, and they claim they don't know what size it was. Like, that wouldn't have saved me.
So you're taking pictures that replace the description in a way because you're using a measuring tape.
I do make sure. Yeah. I make sure I take very good pictures. All my items have a tape measure with them. And if it has a flaw, there is both a picture and it says either see or read in the title, and in the description it says there's a chip. Please see the photos. Other than that, I have no description, none at all. Even like $3,000 purses, the title was the description. I sold 2 of them for $3,000. With no description, Nice. And she was happy. So but some people, they can't do it. They have to type. If you have to type. But I'm telling you, you don't have to type. I'm telling you.
Are scary. They're scary people. I would be scared not to mention.
Yeah, it gives me heartburn to think about it.
I tried it and didn't sleep until all those items sold. And I got feedback.
But was it fine, Joe? Was it fine?
It was fine. It was fine.
See?
But I still go back. I'm gonna try
it. Oh God, I don't know
if I can try it.
I'm gonna need your cell phone number for help for like some kind of Zen calming support. Or one of your listers. When you lend me one of your listers, have them calm me down too.
Well, I get to pick which one though, and I'll tell you they're not all created equal.
Whew. I don't know.
But the best one lives under my roof, and I have to feed her. So you would have to feed her.
Right.
All right. Patricia said she's worrying about selling items. I'm assuming she means over $30. So she's asking if she can have UPS pack and ship it for her protection.
You wouldn't make any profit if you were doing that because UPS is going to upcharge you like crazy.
Yeah, just message me, Patricia. I'll pack all your stuff for over $30 for you for half the cost that UPS would do it for. Yeah,
It's super expensive. Yeah.
there's a lot of videos. I'm sure Kat probably has one or two, or other people.
I have several. Yeah.
About how to pack things at over $30, and just pack it like you would want to get it when you got a package, right? If it's a piece of glass, you're not just going to put it in a bubble mailer, and even overpack it a little bit. It's still going to be less expensive than
I overpack everything, guys. Whether it's $30, whether I will tell you $30 is not my threshold. I would say like $1,000 is my threshold. So like that $200 item that just sold, I'm gonna wrap the crap out of it and bubble wrap, and it's going in a box. And it's going to Seoul, Korea. It's not even going in the US. But I won't worry about it. I would say $30, $50, $100, $200 shouldn't be worrisome. But if you get into like 300, 400, 500, 1,000, where you have room in the profit to pay, I know Eric, OBX Picker, all his big expensive stuff, he does bring to UPS. But I don't think at the $30 mark, you have enough profit in there to afford to be able to do that. And your buyers are not going to be willing to pay for that either. So I would say not until you hit like $300+ to consider it. But I don't think you need to. I ship $1,000 items pretty regularly now, which is nice. So, yeah.
And the more you do it, the more you ship, the more you'll be comfortable.
Right. Yeah.
It, you know what I mean? So just throw yourself in there, do it, and you'll be fine.
I would do no descriptions before I let UPS.
Same.
Right. I mean, that's how. I think you just heard how I'm nervous about no description.
No description.
Oh.
And if you notice the bubble wrap in the background of Kat's,
right.
I use a lot of bubble wrap. I have a loft full of bubble wrap. I love Joel.
And American Bubble Boy, she has links and all of that. It's good product. It really is. He's bought it before.
It's only like $10 for that giant roll delivered, guys. Yeah. It's cheap.
Yep.
It's cheap.
It's good product. And you get it fast. You get it really fast.
Yes. Yeah, I ran out of small bubble wrap. I didn't realize my whole loft was filled with big bubble wrap. And I'm like, we have no little bubble wrap. We realized it. And then it was here in 2 days. So now that's big bubble wrap. But I do have small bubble wrap. Do I see Scott?
You do. And he's going to change his descriptions into a book.
Listen, but Scott doesn't have to have the money. Scott is retired. I am not retired. This is like my money. So I have to like go. But he probably would. But it's whatever you want to do. But if you're asking our advice to do it faster, that's my advice.
There you go.
All right. Scott, here's your dolphin. You can write all the books you want, my friend. All the books you want.
Super chat.
You know what, though? Scott actually has a book. Scott, what's the name of your book? Scott wrote a book. How to Be Married Forever, I think is the name of it.
I did a review on Scott's book.
Is it How to Be Married Forever? Is that the name of it? Did I remember? What? And I have a crappy memory. Scott, you should be very honored. Because I don't remember things. I remember now.
He's like, do not listen to Kat. I need that money.
It's a lie. Hold on. Now I'm scrolling. Katey, do you want to take this one? Can you explain media mail?
Yeah, so media mail is your DVDs, VHS, CDs, cassette tapes, 8-track tapes, books, comic books, and like certain ephemera. You have to be careful because really anything with a advertisement technically can't go media mail. And then video games cannot go media mail. I don't know why video games are excluded out of the mix, but they can't. So you'll have to do first class for those. And then comic books can't really either because they have the advertisements in them. So, to get technical, if it has an advertisement, you can't do that. Oh, also media mail, you can do like sheet music. And you can do like pamphlets and things like that. Just really anything that doesn't have an advertisement, I guess. And
it's slower and cheaper.
It's slower and cheaper. So you're looking at 7 to 10 days. And the beginning rates start at like $3 and some change, and then work up from there every pound. So yeah, definitely a good choice, especially if you're like, when I sold a really big encyclopedia set, that was 2 16 by 12 by 12 boxes, and each one cost me like, I think, $8 or $10. This was before the raise that the post office does every year when they raise prices, but each one was like $8 or $10. So anything else, Priority Mail or FedEx or UPS, that would have been.
And Richard saying blank media cannot be shipped media mail.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Yep. Postcards, you would need to do I do first class for those. So, and on the USPS website, it literally spells it out. Like, it tells you what you can and can't use. It gives you a rate chart on the USPS website. Literally.
And don't listen to people. People try to get me to send magazines that have advertisements.
Yeah.
And I'm not, like, if they open it, like, you would have to pay the difference. And I would rather do UPS ground for them than that. So I tell them I won't do it, but people have tried multiple times to get me to do that. So yeah. Okay, I'm going to take this question from Emily, and then I think I see Larry. Emily wants to know, Mike, how did you come up with January House as your name?
Yeah. So when I first opened my eBay account, before I even had a store, just an account, it was just my name. And then after I saw, like I talked about earlier, I saw that guy selling the retail arbitrage, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I started watching people on YouTube. I'm like, I'm motivated. I'm going to jump into this. This is awesome. I realized I needed a store, and I didn't want it to just be like Mike's stuff or whatever, you know what I mean? Mike's things or whatever. So I was trying to think of a cool name. Anyway, I had my youngest son at the time was like 2 or 3 years old in the car seat in the back seat, and his sister, who was like 6 or 7 at the time, was sitting next to him. And one day he starts talking about something, and you know how if you have kids, maybe you know this, like one kid kind of understands what the other one's talking about in their own weird language. Like sometimes it's hard to decipher even as a parent. So I'm like, what's he talking about? And she's like, he keeps talking about how he goes to the January house and hangs out with his grandfather. And my father had passed away many years before my son was even born. And the stuff coming out of this kid's mouth started like, it was one of those, I don't know if you believe in that kind of stuff, if you don't believe in it. I'm just telling you what happened to me, things that he would not know at all. And it's not like I was telling stories about my old man to a 2-year-old or 3-year-old, like personal things, like. And I was like, whoa. It was like I freaked out in the car. Like I was like driving. I was like, I better get it together here. I got 2 kids in the car. Like, you know what I mean? I was like getting all emotional. So at that time, when he was talking about going to the January house, hanging out with his grandfather and things like that, I was thinking, I was trying to come up with a store name. And I was like, well, shoot, that's probably a good, sign or indication or whatever you believe in as anything else. And it's better than anything I could come up with, I thought. So then that became my store name. And then I didn't start my YouTube. So that was like 2014, 2015. And then I didn't start my YouTube channel until the pandemic hit. So that was 2020, right? 2020, right? 2019. I don't know. It feels like it's been 30 years since this pandemic. But when the pandemic hit, I started a YouTube channel, and I was like, well, I might as well just use my eBay name. And then if people, because I'm going to talk about reselling, and then if people want to see my store, they can do it that way. So that's where January House came from. The name.
That is so awesome.
Yeah, that is
an amazing story. Yeah. That is amazing.
It works. People like it, I guess.
Yeah, it's so unique. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Mr. Larry says 4 of his favorite sellers. Joe and Mike, he misses talking to you.
Hey, Larry.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you, Larry. Here's your dolphin.
Super chat.
All right. I think we got a member, too.
I see that. There we go.
Christy Western, welcome. Thank you. Like I said, we got a lot coming up, guys. my busy time. I have my live sale with Yvonne this Thursday, eBay member store reviews next Thursday, and then Saturday is live sourcing. So a lot. Here is your dolphin, Miss Christy.
Welcome to the flipping family.
Oh, I fast forwarded. What the heck? Listen, I was only at 9 and then it like skipped everything. It said,
Yeah, like
I see Courtney in the chat. Hi, Courtney. And I see a ton of trolls. So thank you to my moderators for
yes,
getting all of those
Mark
trolls.
is crushing it. Mark and Rich and everybody, thank you.
Thank you. Hold on. So Pockets and Stitches, I see your comment, but I don't see your question. Hold on. I'm scrolling. Hold on.
I don't see it either. I was trying to find it
Pockets
earlier.
and Stitches, put your question. Yeah, put your question in again because we don't see it. Sometimes they don't go through. I don't know the reason. I don't know if it's just because there's so much chat that all of them do not make it through for some reason. So
Yeah,
go
cat
ahead
breaks
and.
the internet.
Huh? Did you
I
find
said
it?
cat breaks the internet sometimes.
I do break the internet. I'm trying to figure out where I was because it like way went past. Hold on.
It was the question about how did I get my name, my store name, or my
Yes,
username.
that was the last one. Okay, I'm looking. But what time was that?
That I don't know.
I think I was at like 8:10.
Yeah,
I
it
have
was
not made
like,
it very far.
and I'm struggling to see past 9 o'clock.
Yeah, hold
earlier
on.
than 9.
I'm back there.
Okay.
Oh, now I see Junk Monkey coming in with a super chat. If you want to put that up, I'll keep scrolling and hopefully it won't fast forward me again. Okay. Junk Monkey wants to know, what advice would you give to an experienced reseller to get the next level, and what's the best advice you've ever gotten?
I might not be the best to answer this, but like I said, I do it part-time. So, I mean, I would love to grow and expand my business, but right now that's not in the cards for me. Like I said, I have very limited time to do it. And for me to take on anything else right now, it's just not feasible for me. But eventually one day, you know, if I retire, things like that, where I have a little bit more time, I would love to expand like Mike and Kat, you know, or talk about having somebody to list for them and things like that. But eventually, if I would like to at one time step away from the business too, and maybe not do everything with the business, and that would require getting an employee or somebody to help me out here. But the rest of the guys on here do it full time, so they might be better on some advice on how to expand.
Yeah, I don't know, Joe. I don't feel like I'd be the best one to give advice either. I've been full time for a while, but I don't know. Getting a lister sounds like next level to me. I don't know if I'm an experienced reseller or not. But I'll give you this: the best advice I ever got was someone told me once, "You make your money when you buy the item, not when you sell the item." So I always tried to keep that in mind and try to buy it for, you know, as inexpensively as I can. Lot things up, buy big bulk lots of like ephemera, books, or try to, you know, whatever, Harley pins, whatever it is, because then you can usually get your costs down. So that was the best advice I ever got.
So, I mean, being newly full-time, I think if you are an experienced seller, to me, experience doesn't define whether you're full-time or part-time, Joe. I think experience is based on your knowledge of understanding the reselling game, because it is a very unique, you know, we are a click and mortar business industry, right? You know, we are running eBay stores or Poshmark stores or whatever. So my opinion for next level would be, right now, if you're doing everything from A to Z, in reality, it's more like you are a solopreneur. This is your job. At what point do you want it to become more of like a business where like you're stepping back, you have staff, you know, can that run if you were to, God forbid, break your leg and be in the hospital and, you know, all the things.
I would still be listing. I would still be listening.
I know you would, Kat. We know.
I would
We
be
get
like,
it.
bring me a box of jewelry to the hospital. I would still be listening.
So my next level suggestion would be, even if you don't have a capital or financial cash flow to expand to where you have employees and things like that, get your legal stuff in order. So that way, if something does happen, you have a backup plan of people, you have maybe an LLC or something established where people could access your bank accounts, people could get to your inventory. I mean, that was a recent thing for me. Tay, was on the show 60 Days In, and we kept his eBay store running. So how did we do that? Well, we had to have plans and things in place, and I had to have access to things. So just stuff like that, I think would even be a next level. If you're an experienced reseller, like how could you potentially, if an accident or something came up that you had to step away, how is that going to still run? And that's something you can do without having to necessarily have employees. You just have backup plans. You know what I mean? So that's something I am going to work on as well. I guess that kind of ties into an earlier question. By the next year, I want to have some backup plan things in place, especially like legal stuff and documentation and the whole banking side of things. I want to make sure I have some plans in place, just in case something were to happen or I need to leave for a while or, whatever. Life is crazy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then the best advice that I've ever gotten was to not compare myself to other resellers. And I know a lot of people are like, no, it's relevant. It's
not relevant.
It's
not
relevant because you have to, see what others are doing, and you have to compete with the market, and other resellers are the market because they're
No,
all of
compare
that.
yourself to you. That is all that matters.
Yeah, I am in competition with myself. I am not in competition with anyone else. And that is 100% true, because starting Whatnot, I've connected with so many other booksellers. I could be a total jerk and try and compete against them and make a big deal like, oh, I'm going to do my show when they're doing their show. No, instead we collaborate together. They push people to my show. I push people to their show. I have books that they don't have. They have books that I don't have. And it's a collaboration. So I think sometimes we need to focus a little bit more on collaborating rather than competing against each other, and then not compare yourself to anybody else, because literally all of us are winging it as we go. And if someone says otherwise, they're lying. So that is just life. Life is crazy. So don't let anyone make you feel like you're not up to par. If you're not making $100,000 a year reselling, you're not successful. Money is subjective. All of that is subjective. Do what's best for you. That is my
I had people trash my 50,000.
Yes,
like exactly. I got trashed for a $50,000 90 day. They told me I sucked and they had 100. So there's always somebody that's making more than you, and compare yourself to you. I agree with Mike 100%. You make your money on the buy. For me, bumping it up was getting employees. I am filing as an S Corp now. So I think it depends on how you want to grow. So I'm kind of growing two different ways. One is having employees to list items. The other is getting more high dollar items. So if you are not selling a lot of high dollar items and you have the capital, you can try to sell more high dollar items. Like the stuff that I just got, a lot of it is $200, $300, $400, $500 items. So you could, bump your business model up that way, or you can bump it up by getting an employee. Just my advice is make sure in your state, like it's not as easy as just getting a lister. In Florida, you cannot pay a lister as a 1099 employee. You have to have a payroll company. You have to pay your portion of their Social Security, of their federal income tax. It is not as easy as just 1099ing them. So make sure you're doing it right. Don't screw yourself by thinking you can just 1099 them. That is not the case in most states. So I had to get a payroll company, and I just turn in the hours every Monday, and then they take out whatever my portion of the taxes is for everybody. But you can bump it up by the number of listings or the dollar amount you're selling. It kind of depends on where you want to go. I know a lot of people make more than I do with no employees, It just depends on where you want to go with it. Do we have another member? Guys, I did not make it to 10 after 8. I apologize. So most of the questions were asked before we even started, which I don't think has ever happened. Oh, Sunkissed. Yay! Sunkissed always sends me super chats and now is a member. Guys,
Aww.
I will tell you, especially if you have questions, the members only lives, you get a lot more attention. There are not 600 people in the chat and I can answer everything. And I do screen share to like walk you through if you have eBay questions. So if you want to make sure, being a member is definitely a good way to do it. Cause I do 6 to 8 members only lives a month. A lot of people that are my members don't realize it, but I do a ton of members only lives where it's more attention and less people. So Sunkissed, here is you've never got this dolphin. Here's the other dolphin.
Welcome to the flipping family.
Did we ever see her question? Did we ever find her question?
I could not.
Debbie wants to know, is there a market for chip glass and pottery? I have beautiful marked items I can't bear to toss in the trash.
I don't have any chipped glass items or pottery, but I assume, I mean, there's probably a way to fix some of the pottery that, you know, if it is chipped or if it's rare enough, I'm sure somebody wants it.
I hope not, because I would throw it right away in the trash if it was chipped or broken.
So possibly, I would say if you wanted to dabble with that, try Etsy, because a lot of people will buy crafting supplies off of Etsy. I see that more as like someone maybe wanting to buy it and use it for art related things, or maybe wanting a project and putting something back together or wanting to make something. So if you really can't bear to toss it, maybe try Etsy, but I don't know. If there was a market, I would say try that. You could try eBay too. I have sold crazy stuff on eBay, guys. I have sold toilet paper rolls, empty toilet paper rolls in large bulk. I've sold pine cones in large bulk. Listen,
I sold Spanish moss off the trees.
Yes. When I first started, I tried anything and everything I could to list for free because I didn't have capital. So that's how I got my capital. So yeah, there is a market out there potentially. My thought would be to try Etsy first, but eBay could be a possibility too. But you'd want to use specific keywords like, art or crafting or
not necessarily. I'm gonna cut in. So this one right here, this sold for $450 2 days ago. I broke her fingers off when I was going to put her up. So here is her hand where I fixed it. Do you see? I glued it back.
Oh, yeah.
And she still sold for $450.
Did you put that in the description?
Right. Did you put that in the description?
I did.
You did?
I had pictures before I broke it. And then I added the two where I broke the hand.
Uh-huh.
And in my title, it says C. Right? Okay, hold on. Please see photos. Fingers on the left hand have been repaired. But this is an artist proof, never available and limited to 250
A
made.
whole 2 sentences. I am so proud of you.
Wow.
So
that's but it sold for $450 in 2 days. So
Yeah.
it depends on how rare. That was an artist proof.
Yes.
So that was a super rare piece.
and broken items though. Stuff for parts.
One of my
though,
members told me about this fancy glue. Look, this fancy glue is UV light super glue. It cures instantly.
Wow.
It's listen, it works. It works. My daughter wants to
I
seal it for
believe
her
you.
fingernails.
Wait.
I have used it a lot.
Wait,
So what happened? I had that in my cart to put away, and my Murano clown fell over on her fingers and broke all her fingers off. Yeah. So
it's glue, or it's a light that glues things together?
so it's cool. It's glue, but it doesn't stick or cure until you put the light on it. So you can wipe the excess off. and then you put the light on it, and then it cures. It's pretty cool.
Especially because
I used it for a Yadro that I broke that was worth over $1,000. Well, I didn't break it. The estate sale broke it.
Joe sells Yadro all the time.
Wow.
It worked on the Yadro. So that definitely, my point is it has to be rare and people have to want it. Or Katey was giving a different use for it if they're wanting to do mosaics and art and they want to crush it. But if it's a rare piece like that or a rare pottery maker, it can still sell for high money. Now, your issue is going to be if you have that same item not damaged that's listed. That's when, that's one of the things you want to have the only one. Like that statue, I had the only one on eBay. Yeah, there were only 2 ever available on WorthPoint in the last 10 years. So that was a super rare statue. I was lucky that I broke the fingers off of that one. If you want to call it that. But if there are none, then you can. If there are other ones listed, I typically subtract like 20 to 30% depending on how much damage, and it will still sell if it's that rare. Now, if it's something there are like 50 listed, not damaged, then you need to go with Katey's idea and list it for somebody to crush it and use it for art.
Yeah, like if we're just talking about a normal like gravy boat, nothing special markings, this is just your average gravy boat and it's cracked or broken or whatever, that's kind of what I had in mind. But she does have a good point about the rare ones.
Yeah, I don't want them to crush that. They better not crush that lady because she's the artist proof. She's the only one that exists like that. Don't crush the lady.
They're gonna crush it, Kat.
Kat, like 7 people are asking what's the name of that glue in the chat. The lightsaber glue you got.
UV light glue.
UV lightsaber glue. Make yourself.
My members told me about this when Goo Guy.
Goo Guy.
Look, GUGUY.
My nickname in college.
Yep, Goo Guy.
Sorry.
Like.
Did I say that out loud?
You did say that out loud.
Right into the mic.
Totally did.
I think you leaned into the mic to say it.
You're making me choke.
Okay. 2 more members.
2 more members. Okay, let's show the members. And Miss Judy became a member. Thank you. And Making Profits. Thank you. And Richard told me too. Richard is helping too. So Richard, thank you. All right, guys, I'm going to give you a collective dolphin. We're going to answer one question. I made it 10 minutes into the show for questions. I'm sorry. Here's your dolphin.
Welcome to the flipping family.
Okay, there are a few. We're going to answer a few more questions. This is question number 1. What do we do to prepare for Q4 in order to make the most of the high sales season?
For me, I make sure I have supplies because last year I ran out of supplies and it was tough getting them. Even the free USPS boxes and poly mail or bubble mailers, I had a hard time getting that. This year, I have a note sitting on my desk in front of me, not to forget to order the supplies. And as far as products, I'll try to get out there and maybe pick up some. I try to look for newer item things, new in-box things, but I don't really change up what I pick up, but I do keep an eye out for new items because I think some people still have that stigma of giving, a used item as a gift, especially for Christmas or things like that. So, but that's the only thing. But packing supplies is number 1. I ran out last year and it was a headache.
Yeah, great point about the packing supplies. For me, list. Get as much stuff up as you can. A lot of people are still online shopping or don't want to go out, especially during the busy holiday season with all those people around, with COVID and just in general, people are more online shopping. So just get all your stuff up as much as you can is what I try to do. And then also, right, like Joe said, with the products, I try to look at like trends, like what's the new thing coming out or what are kids into, like, I don't know, like Paw Patrol, is hot for little kids or PJ Masks or that kind of stuff. And if I see stuff like that now, like in a yard sale, new in box or whatever, and it's cheap enough, I'll definitely pick it up like that. I don't get too much into it because I saw a lot of more like collectible stuff, but that's what I do. List.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, I mean, Christmas and Halloween and holidays sell all year long for me, but definitely start tackling your Christmas and Halloween stuff if you haven't already. Definitely, especially like the Christmas houses, like the village houses and stuff like that. The decoration,
56,
decor stuff. A lot of them aren't like some Lunex or Lumex. Some of them aren't even made anymore. So you can find those at garage sales sometimes for like $2-3 if people are getting rid of a collection and they don't know what they have. So just I think more along the lines of like decor and things like that, because that's the people that do have that disposable income kind of gravitate towards that and doing the fun stuff. So I focus on more of the fun stuff, but that is a really good point about thinking about trending toys and things like that as well. And then I would also say to make sure that you have some strategic sales in mind. You can schedule sales ahead of time for your store. So I kind of start thinking about markdown sales during certain times, specifically for certain categories. So I may have just a book category sale. I may just have a toy category sale, you know, that kind of thing. And then I also, like some of my Christmas stuff, I will bump it up like $5 or $10, even if there's other sellers out there, because those other sellers that are lower price are going to sell first. And then as it's getting closer to the holiday season, people are going to probably be more willing to pay my $5 or $10, or I can go down and negotiate some offers at that point, because mine is likely to be the last man standing and it's closer to the holiday season. And now it's in their mind frame and, you know, all of that. So that's worked well for me for things like cookie jars and stuff like that, teapots, stuff like that in the past. So I guess that would be my suggestion. That's what I kind of do. Really good point about making sure your supplies are in place, because that,
especially the free USPS ones. Those are the ones that back up and that you can't get.
Yeah, the post office gets really crazy pretty much after Halloween. It starts getting crazy, at least in my area. So I would definitely recommend tackling that. And then if you do have the proper store subscription with eBay, don't forget about your free stuff, your coupon. And try and use that up as well and take advantage of that to get whatever you need.
Yeah. So besides doing what Joe said and getting boxes, I do absolutely nothing. And I don't see a spike in sales, and I don't want to. I don't want to make like most of my money in one quarter and kill myself. I would rather have even keel throughout the year. And that's what I have. So I don't see a spike. I don't see a spike at Q4, and I'm okay with that. I would rather have steady 10, 15,000 a month all year long rather than like low and then go crazy out of my mind for a few months. I'm good with them staying steady, but you do need to make sure you have boxes because it is harder to get them during Q4. So that would be the only thing I do. Okay, these are quick questions. Mike, Cindy wants to know what's in your cup, but that was 2 hours ago.
Just tea, just straight tea, iced tea.
Straight,
straight iced tea.
Long Island iced tea.
No.
Oh my gosh, those knock me on my butt. I haven't drank one of those in like over 10 years. Okay, anyways, it's tea. Has anybody bought an Amazon restock box?
No. Not yet. I've heard about it. I know a couple other people that have, but no.
I have not. Okay. Question for Katey. What book is on your bucket list to find from Scott?
Ooh, really anything signed, like especially like some of the JFK books out there, When England Slept, or like the J.K. Rowling books that were UK editions where they messed up and showed her whole first name. Just a lot of those are really, really hard to find. My jaw would drop on the floor if I found that out in the wild at a garage sale. But just pretty much anything signed, any error books, that type of thing, because those are unicorns for sure. So yeah, those would be my unicorns to find one day.
All right, last question, and then I will let everybody tell you goodbye. This is the last question for Miss Judy. What is your favorite platform to sell on and why?
Mine's pretty simple. It's eBay. I think that's the most comfortable platform I was on. That's what I started with. So that's why I stick with it.
I'm going to be different. I sell much more on eBay, but my favorite one is more Macari. There's more interaction with, I feel like, with the buyers that I have or the potential buyers that I have and myself. I get a lot of messages, a lot of back and forth. I just feel like I don't know. I feel like it's better if the money came right away, like eBay, but even eBay's a couple days delay, you get paid now. I like selling on Macari better. I'm going to go there.
For me, if you would have asked me a couple years ago, I would have said Amazon FBA, but now I have gravitated towards eBay. Amazon used to be my favorite, but there's restrictions now, even with books. You have to get ungated in certain book publishers now, and it's just a lot more difficult to sell on that platform than it was back in 2019 when I started. So now with eBay, I'm more comfortable. I enjoy it. I can list quickly. I'm comfortable. I'm just really comfortable with eBay. I don't mind learning new things when they make adjustments or changes. I'm up for it. It doesn't annoy me or upset me. Amazon, I have a totally different, oh my God, again, it's so complicated. It's so cumbersome. With eBay, I don't feel that. So, yeah, that's definitely my favorite platform.
Mine is eBay, and it's because 90% of my sales come from eBay, even though almost all 6,000 of my listings are on Poshmark, Mercari, and I have about 1,200 on Etsy. eBay blows all of them away. I did Amazon, but I like more hands-on and packing. I mean, it's nice to put a box of books and ship it away and forget about it, but I don't hate shipping. I actually like shipping. And I missed listing when I wasn't listing. When my listers were listing so much, I had to do drafts and couldn't list myself. So mine is definitely eBay. I think it has the biggest audience. They definitely need to work on getting the younger crowd into it, I think. But eBay is definitely by far for me the most sales for sure. All right, hold on. Now I will let everybody tell you guys goodbye. We had almost 600 in here at one point. So thank you to everybody for being in here for sure. We are live every Tuesday. Next Tuesday, the other half of Katey and Tay will be my co-host. And we will have Scott Cha-Ching King and Rachel Strickland on. So I'm going to let everybody tell you bye. If you guys have videos coming up, or like Mike, let them know when you do your auctions and stuff. And definitely check out their channel or in the description below, especially if you're watching afterwards. So here's Joe.
Kat, I want to thank you for having me on again. I appreciate it. It's always a fun time being on here. I really enjoy answering some of these questions. Thanks again for everybody in the chat. I really appreciate all the good questions that you've had. And I should have a video out, I think, on Friday. It's just going to be a what sold video, but stop by if you have time.
Perfect. Here's Mike.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Great questions tonight. Make sure you hit the thumbs up and subscribe to Katey and subscribe to Joe if you're not subscribed already. And if you're into auctions, I have 2 YouTube channels. The pre-recorded content is just the January House channel, and then my auctions Sunday night, 7:00 p.m. Eastern on the January Auction House. Thanks again, Kat, for having me, and hope to be back.
All right, here's Katey.
Hi guys. So sorry to anyone that asked a question and get to you. I tried to engage with the chat a little bit, but it's super busy. So anyways, thanks Kat for letting me co-host. Thanks Julian for being gone so I could co-host. It was really great getting to know Joe and Mike a little bit. Really, really appreciate the insight from you guys. And yeah, thanks guys. Bye.
Perfect. Katey, thank you for co-hosting. Mike and Joe, thanks for coming on. like Katey said, guys, if we didn't get your question, I'm sorry. I only made it to 10 minutes after the show started because people started asking questions at an hour before we started. So if you want your questions answered, I suggest get them in early, even if you come back later to watch. As the show grows, I get through less and less of the questions because we just can't go through them all. So I appreciate all of you coming. I will see you guys tomorrow with a haul video. And then Thursday, I'll show you a couple of things. I have some amazing blown glass perfume bottles I'm putting on auction with Yvonne.
Nice.
And I start everything at $5. So that'll be Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Yvonne Thrifty Rich channel. We do it the first Thursday of every month. Brad is walking in here. I guess he's really not letting me stay late tonight. So we will see you guys next week. Tay will be the co-host along with Scott and Rachel. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We will see you next week. Bye for now.